Good Saturday to all of you. I am Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on SI and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast. Join like we are each and every week for nearly 2 decades. This guy is one of my best friends on planet Earth. You know, they always say that it is a real friend when at any moment you could pick up the phone and call them and they're going to pick up, they're going to be there for you. I would be there for him in a heartbeat, and his beautiful wife, Alicia. They are precious human beings, and I know he would be there for me. He's a decorated journalist. He is a highly successful attorney in the Atlanta Buckhead area. He is the great Jonathan Shop. John, how are you, friend?
Pulling punches. We're ready to throw some punches. It's Saturday. Let's go ahead and bring it strong. Everyone is excited. We're in the midst of a plethora of football action. We were highly entertained on Thursday. We got plenty to feast on here as the Raiders get to what I'd like to think of as kind of their midterm exam.
So let's just get right into it. Geno gone wild. Yeah. Help me here.
Here's the bottom line. When you look at Geno Smith, you wonder what happened, what's going on. Well, let's take a look where he came from, because it's very impressive. His touchdown to turnover ratio from 2021 to 2024, 76 to 36. So he threw 76 touchdowns during that period of time and only 36 interceptions. The great problem we have now through 6 games in Las Vegas, he's got 7 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. So we have a dramatically different performance going on. The obvious question is, why is that happening? Is it a matter of him losing skill, touch, technique? Is it a matter of Chip Kelly's offense not mending yet? It's probably a little bit of both. The curious question for the Raiders, when you look at it from outside, is which is it? Now, this week, we're going to find out a little bit more because obviously they're playing the Chiefs. And if it doesn't go well, I don't know what choice the Raiders have but to explore some kind of significant change, whether that be a different starter, a significantly different offense. Something is not adding up here. It's not like the Raiders took a guy that was underachieving. They took a guy that was playing the best football he's ever played. Now, there is a shelf life on that. Everybody understands that. And one of the good things about the contract deal that the Raiders have is that they're kind of protected there. But the Geno Smith that we've seen in Las Vegas so far, that cannot be the same guy. We're not seeing these balls be turned over. We're not seeing them come up short because of an obvious injury like we saw with Kirk Cousins last year, who went from throwing for 500 plus yards and record-setting touchdowns to, not being able to get the ball there. So it is very curious. And as the Raiders are here arriving to one of the bookends of their season, when you break it down, because they've got the Chiefs, at the end of it. And of course, going into the bye, to me, it's like a midterm exam. And I think this is a kind of a crossroads for the Geno Smith experiment in Las Vegas. Let's see what he does. And hopefully for them, he does well enough that they know we need to keep rocking with Geno and this thing will get better. If it goes poorly, if it goes the wrong direction, I don't know what choice they have, and it's going to make the bye week a little more interesting than anybody would have expected when you've signed a guy that had a 76 to 36 touchdown ratio from 21 through 24.
Here is the thing, and I know fans don't want to hear this, okay? And I get that, especially when your franchise just sells you just win. Hey, it's your job to figure it out. We're just going to go win. But the thing that stands out to me is I don't think Geno's lost it. I just don't. I mean, I watching every day at training camp. I don't believe that. I certainly think he's made some poor decisions, but that's on coaching to adjust to him. This is the guy you wanted. And how much of this, I don't think it's all on one. I want to make that clear. I know that everyone wants it to be, I talked about this yesterday in the podcast. Everyone wants it to be one thing. Well, it's usually not. You know that as an attorney, it's usually not one thing. It's sometimes it is, but it's usually a summation. But how much of this rests on Chip Kelly? How much is on Geno? Chip's not throwing the ball, but Chip's calling the plays, and Chip's, where do you think that lays, John? What's your opinion as an outsider?
My opinion as an outsider is, once again, based on something from Saban / Belichick. The Saban-Belichick way of thinking is you've got to adjust to the players you have. Every single team is different. So I would put the extraordinary onus, 80 to 90% of it, on Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll. And sure, without any question, the Raiders are turning over every stone trying to figure out, are we calling the right stuff? Do we have the right route set up? Do we have things in position to put Geno in position to succeed? I'm sure they're going through that, and they're going to go through that again in the bye week. But until proven otherwise, until you see some obvious, ball fluttering or something that stands out that's like, that's totally on Geno, you have to put more of it on the coaching, because like you said, and like the tree that I fall from is, you've got to do what you can to put the players in the best position to succeed and adapt your system to what your players can do. Right now, it's certainly been a mix, but more of that early. And really, I think too, the surprise around the sport is, on the one end, it's like, how bad have the Raiders made Geno Smith look? That's the extreme version of, it's all on the Raiders. They made him look horrible. They made him look like he doesn't know what he's doing. They made him look like not a starting quarterback. That's on the one end. The other end, I don't think the argument is that good that Geno Smith has lost it. He's lost arm strength. He's doing a remarkable amount of dumb things. Keeping in mind, when a guy's in a new system like that, we're going to see the most, ideally, you're going to see the most mistakes. You're going to see the most forcing it that we've seen a couple times from Smith so far. But I think the onus is on the Raiders. And to be honest with you, if there's going to be a significant improvement in here, and we will watch the touchdown to interception ratio after the bye week, if we're going to see that significant improvement, it's going to be more on the Raiders' game planning and coaching than it will be on Smith's physical performance.
Yeah, 100% agree. And again, if you see him with a multi-interception game again, and I think you go to Kenny, I don't think that's making a season-long decision, but it's just saying, okay, you don't got it today. We got to go try me. I want to say it this way because I want to preface my comment. I'm not calling Pete out, but he was asked about it, and he's like, yeah, I expect to win 10 games. That's what we do. And so when you've set those expectations, then if you're not reaching them, you have to demonstrate to today's modern fan base, hey, we're going to go look. We're going to go search. We're not protecting anybody, whether it's the OC, whether it's the quarterback. I just think they have to show Raider Nation that they're out there biting, scratching, fighting, and clawing to fix it.
Turning over all the rocks. That's the least that you owe your fan base, especially when you're talking about professional football and one of the historically featured and celebrated franchises. Yeah, I know what the record is. I'm not a Raider fan. I'm just telling you from the outside, it still has a little value. So to their credit, I think they get that picture. And I believe through the bye week and beyond, Carroll's going to talk more about turning over the leaves. And like you said, it's not necessarily throwing in the white flag if you've got to go to Pickett at this point where you are, especially going into the bye. If it's not going well in Kansas City, if it's really not going anywhere, they should try everything they can. They pretty much have to. You're not going to beat the Chiefs without your absolute best, and some struggle from them. Nobody expects struggle from them. So the Raiders know they got a tall task. They've got to turn over all the rocks to have a shot.
All right. I want to talk to you about an interesting thing. One other quick point I want to make. I talked about this on yesterday's podcast, so I don't want to beat a dead horse. But when you look at the modern NFL, okay, you're throwing away a Sam Darnold. You're throwing away a Baker Mayfield. This is one of the things I love about Green Bay. They pick their future quarterbacks. They go sit on the end of the bench. Develop, learn, mature, learn the game, yada, yada, yada. So when you come in, we set you up to succeed. You're throwing away coaches way too early, in my opinion. You're just, there's a lot being done because of social media. This is where you have to have a backbone of steel, conviction. This is the direction we're going. We're staying in this direction because look at the Steelers. Look at the teams that have sustained success over the years. They keep their face like a flint, and they just stay in one direction, and they believe in it. Okay, yeah, understand you're mad. You're fans. You should be mad. We're not disconnecting with you. But hey, look at the Jets. How many guys have gone on and succeeded at other teams that the Jets threw away? I remember saying to someone very close to Aaron Glenn when he left the Lions. I think Glenn's going to be a great coach, by the way. But I think taking the Jets job may have ruined his career, because I don't think it's a franchise the way it's currently set up can win. And people are going to go, oh, he's a bum, he's terrible, he's horrible. Look what he did with the Jets. Well, look what Pete Carroll did after he left the Jets. To me, I just think there's too many bad jobs. There's a lot of bad coaching and a lot of bad franchises. And I just think sometimes we want to flip the switch real quick, thinking it's instant gratification. That doesn't work in the real world.
It doesn't work in the real world. And maybe the best current example of what you just talked about is down in Tampa with Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles took the Jets job. No chance. It nearly ruined his career. Then Todd Bowles gets going in Tampa. I'm sure if we did some research, we could find people early in Todd Bowles' time at Tampa that said he wasn't the guy, he wasn't going to be successful, he wasn't going to be a coach. They didn't know what in the world they're talking about. Look at the record Todd Bowles has in Tampa. And he is a special guy. You can say he's got a special advantage because of some of the things in his mind. I would just say he's an awesome coach. But what we're seeing right now with Tampa is a franchise who's changed lanes to more of that Steeler type lane. They're going one direction with Todd Bowles. And I don't think they are half done in terms of the number of years he's going to coach there and what they're going to do. This is an idea. If you want somebody to model right now, maybe you're trying to model Tampa. And the Raiders are in a new era. There is really no question about that. There's also no question that they are not going to be able to satisfy the fan base in terms of winning games anywhere near fast enough. They could be undefeated right now, and it might not even be to a full satisfaction. So understanding that, they're most likely going to be best off continuing to go in a direction. And we do have to sometimes remind ourselves, this is only not even halfway through the first year of a process that may take a year or two, but they are going to stay in the same direction and on the same track this time. I don't think we're going to see some of the spin outs and some of the wild stuff that happened before. And for the love of God, no matter what team you cheer for, you do not want to act like the Jets.
Well, and I can tell you this, there were people in the building of the Raiders. I know this because they personally talked to me about it. They didn't want to go with Antonio Pierce. They weren't against Antonio. They just didn't feel like he had the experience, who wanted to go the Todd Bowles route. That, oh, no, he failed, whatever. Okay. And I mean, I think it's a great example. Hey, did Tua make, I don't know how to say, did he make an actual mistake here? What's going on with Tua?
What's going on with Tua is the most interesting thing that is going on in Miami right now. It's another franchise that's kind of a train wreck. You know, last week, a lot of folks saw Tua call out some of his teammates after the game, talking about people missing players only meetings. And then for some reason, earlier this week, he comes out and says, I made a mistake. I should not have done anything like that. The reaction to this is more interesting than anything, because the first thing I'm thinking of is, this is a guy that was coached by Nick Saban. I don't know that this is a mistake at all. How soft, how darn soft and flimsy are the Dolphins? It's a soft franchise. It looks soft on the field too much. It looks flimsy and fake. It looks like they've got a coach that's a dead man walking. Obviously, the team is a mess. It looks to me like Tua tries to stick something he tries to stick a fork in the ground. He tries to draw a fork in the road, a line in the sand, and say, we're not doing this anymore. And then he starts to walk it back. I don't know why he did that. This is a guy that is probably near the end of his career, unfortunately, because he is one hit away from being done. We all know that. Why in the world would he do this now? I'm really surprised that he came out. I want to know why and who pushed the buttons to say, hey, you got to go out there and say you made a mistake. Otherwise, I don't know why he did this. It looked like he did some good and he just undid it. But all he did in the larger scheme of things, was put a microscope again on a dysfunctional franchise with an iffy owner at best that just spins their wheels. If you're a National Football League player and you want to win, Miami's not the place you want to go.
I'm going to tell you this, and you and I go back a long way with Nick, okay? His players are well versed in what they do. There are some things that you and I can't talk about publicly, but they are well versed. They know exactly what they were. Tua knew what he was doing. And when he had to come and backtrack, I think anybody who's familiar with Nick, and they know exactly, somebody told them. To me, the biggest red flag that franchise is in trouble was when he had to come out and basically retract.
That's what it looks like until proven otherwise. That's what it looks like to me. I mean, this is a guy that's used to being in an organized and disciplined and focused operation. The Dolphins have 53 guys plus the practice squad. I just have a hard time getting the message that Dolphin success is priority one of so many of those guys. There's too many guys on that team. Of all the franchises that need like almost a culture shock, I don't know why. It seems like it's always Miami that would really benefit from one. We saw, if you're old enough to remember, Jimmy Johnson got some traction there, and there's been some fluky stuff or maybe a little bit of success here and there. I think that that's a place that needs a much more commanding and blue collar type coach. And here they've got Tua, who seems to fit a pretty decent mold of what a lot of people would like in a leader. Who tapped him on the shoulder and said, you got to pull that back? How is that going to lead to more success in Miami? I don't think it does. I think we're going to get the broom out and sweep and clean the house in Miami, and we'll talk about it in December.
I know I'm a little older than you, but remember when we were kids and they would have the kids who maybe came from families that didn't have a lot of money would have high waters, pants that were too short. And then I remember several years ago, my daughter wanted me to buy her some. And I'm like, honey, we're not broke. I'm not buying you high waters. And I think they're called Capri pants now. And okay, they look fine on my daughter. They look great on my wife, but it's hard for me to trust a guy wearing Capri pants. How about you?
I think that some people are much better coordinators than head coaches. And I think they had real success that one year. And unfortunately, they had no chance going into Kansas City with literally calling guys off of the street. But I don't know how that gets repeated. It's just that if everything goes right and you've got the approach you've got dealing with players that Mike McDaniel has, I think you can have success. But the odds of everything going right seem about 80% less likely than somebody like a Sean McDermott or Andy Reid leading in a different way. So it's not that it can't work. It's just not as likely to work. And at the same time, there's so many holes in that franchise. There's so many, I don't know, distractions. There's just, they don't ever really seem to be very locked in too long in Miami. Sometimes they have little times where they're locked in. They don't seem to be too locked in, but this guy calling out guys for missing players only meetings, he didn't do that by accident. He did that because there were guys skipping players only meetings and people didn't care. They didn't care. So he says, maybe I'll go ahead and say something in the public and see if that can maybe rally the guys. And instead it looks like there were people pointing fingers and saying, why are you saying this out loud? At that point, you just throw up your hands. You're like, well, we're not going anywhere. It's a strange thing. We're going to keep watching it, see if anybody else has anything to say in Miami.
All right. I'm going to bring up a subject I know you're going to be excited to talk about. JSN to the top. I know how much you love this guy.
We do love him. And one of the things we love about doing this show, and hopefully those people that have been listening and watching for a long time, is we like to stay ahead of the curve a little bit. Now, when it comes to Jackson Smith and Jigba, I may have been a little bit too soon ahead of the curve. I thought he was going to win the Rookie of the Year. Didn't happen. You really look for the second year and third year jump from a receiver. Now everybody has seen it all over. This is not a tall guy going to jump for balls, in the corner of the end zone. He's a different kind of receiver, but he is so proficient. He's so quick. He's literally becoming something that has to be considered every single snap when you're playing Seattle, and he is young. Folks, there are so many wide receivers at a top level that came out of Ohio State. They were coached very, very well. They were obviously recruited well. You see them every single Sunday in the NFL. Right now, Jackson Smith-Njigba is emerging as one of the top receivers in this sport. I mean, he's on fire. It's not just one thing, it's everything. It's the details, it's the route, it's the separation, it's the catching of the ball. We're watching a star in the making. It is fun to see, and he is going to make a difference for the Seahawks, hopefully to elevate them to maybe overachieve. You know, you got to have your best players play really well to overachieve. If we're sitting here at the end of the year saying Seattle did better than we think they are, Jackson Smith-Njigba is going to be one of the biggest reasons why.
We talked earlier about franchises that respond to social media, and perhaps there's none as a better case study today than the Titans, who fire Vrabel. They bring in Brian Callahan. They've now fired him after a year and a half, which to me, what doesn't resonate with me is if you're going to move on from Vrabel, that's certainly your choice if you feel like he can't get us to where we need to go. So you're really telling me with a brand new rookie quarterback, you've seen enough from Brian Callahan? Now, I have no idea if he's a good coach or not. I have no opinion. I would not have hired him. Okay, I want to make that clear. I'm not pretending to be able to look at with an eye of a seer. But here's what stands out to me is there's a lot of things in Cam Ward's skill set, and I said this during the game, that they're not doing because they don't have the personnel to protect him. To me, that was coaching integrity. Why go ask this guy to get crushed? They were making coaching decisions for the long term. I have no opinion if Callahan is the guy or not. I'm not in the building. I don't know. I know people there, but my point is to make this decision after such a short amount of time to me literally means you weren't sold when you hired him, or it's oh my God, we got to make a statement quick to our fan base because they're mad. Uh-oh. No, it's like parents who let angry children lead the family. I don't like it. I think it's a bad look for Tennessee. I think it's a bad look for ownership. Tell me where I'm wrong here.
I don't think this makes a lot of sense. This is not college football. They don't have to go recruit players or recruit a coach. They must really not like Brian Callahan because they really just screwed and set back his professional coaching career. Even if they said, we're going to get rid of the guy the rest of the year, or, you know, at the end of the year, why are you getting rid of him in October? Unless there's some kind of scandal or some kind of big thing that we don't know about, this looks ridiculous. The coach is trying to figure it out. He's got a rookie quarterback. You can decide we're going to move on to a new coach to try to get the ramp going for the new stadium. There's no advantage to doing it now. You've set Callahan back a good bit. You've taken away a half dozen or more opportunities for him to prepare for a game week. They are 4-19 since they lost Mike Vrabel. That may be the problem more than anything. It's not Brian Callahan. I don't know why you do this if you're Tennessee, but I do know this. There are people who are looking for head coaching jobs, and there will be after the year. And if they think about interviewing with Tennessee, you don't think, of course they're going to know Callahan got ran out of there pretty quick, and he got ran out of there in October. I don't understand why you would do that, even if you decide to move on. This owner is rapidly moving up the ranks of looking like a foolish NFL owner. And there's a whole lot of folks out there, especially in Las Vegas, who are looking to make some action and bet the over and bet the Titans big. Bet the Patriots big as this game, comes up on the schedule. But I don't know why. You lose Brian Callahan, of course, and his father too, who's still a fantastic offensive line coach. I don't know why you do this at this time. What pushed this button? There's no recruiting. There's no ticket sale deadline or something. Well, you really think you're going to get some kind of advantage in Tennessee by having an extra 6 weeks? This is not negotiation period. How many guys are going to be like, what are you talking about? How do you know that? What are you, the hot coordinator the first part of the season? You're going to try to tap him? He may be nothing by the end of the year. Strange decision, poor management, no direction, rudderless ship. They're not the Jets of the Midwest yet, but they may be before the end of the decade.
Let's talk about Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, it's wow. People are like, he's warming up, he's getting better, or maybe it's just the fact he's getting receivers now, getting guys back. I mean, I thought it was foolish. Said so at the time when the rumors of their demise. Thoughts about Mahomes?
Well, some of us saw Chiefs moving the ball well in the Jacksonville game, and we thought, they lost, but the Chiefs, they made some progress. Then we saw what they did with the Lions, and now Rashee Rice is coming back. And what you're seeing is Mahomes is on a remarkable pace. Right now, his touchdown to interception ratio is projected to be like 31-5, which is nuts. I mean, that's outstanding. So anybody that thought the Chiefs were kind of done or we're not going to have to deal with them or they may be just a wild card, they need to think again. They need to watch obviously. Raider fans are going to watch the Chiefs this week. I think between now and say November 1st, we should find out how high the Chiefs can fly, if you will, especially on offense. Barring any injury, this may be the best weapon set Mahomes has had in a number of years. Now, there is an important thing we have to keep an eye on. We talked about Josh Simmons in the offseason. We talked about him maybe being the very most important draft pick in the first round this year. He had to miss a game for personal reasons, which were out on the West Coast. That is potentially a wrench and a curveball. It's not clear if he's going to be back this week. We're going to keep that in mind as we watch the Chiefs because that is a major development. The Chiefs are on the rise. If they get Simmons back and they have all these receivers and everybody healthy, it's going to be a hard thing to outscore them the rest of the week.
All right, John. Off-field story of the week is a sad one to me. Nick Mangold, wonderful guy, played at Ohio State, played with the aforementioned Jets. Talk about this story, would you?
Well-known guy, also a very famous sister, who I believe was a Olympic weightlifter. So this one comes out of nowhere, kind of. What you have here is a 41-year-old who's got a kidney issue. And he got to the point where the kidney was doing poor enough this summer that he's got to come out and publicly ask for a kidney donor with type O blood. As we're taping this today, we don't know if any progress has been made on that. It's not necessarily something that somebody would run out and jump in public until, after the procedure was done. But it is a reminder that not necessarily that there's a cost to playing football, but we see these guys as almost Superman. And Mangold was a fantastic player, extremely healthy. Yeah, I mean, really good player, extremely healthy, and now he's in a position where he drastically needs a kidney and has put out really a call to the football world to get this kidney if he can find a match. This is going to be an interesting story. Everybody's hoping that it has a good ending, and I think there's a great opportunity based on the numbers of how many million people now are aware of this. But it's definitely the off-field story of the week and one we're going to follow as we hope that some luck and some great medical technology and care can get Nick Mangold another 50 plus years. He was a really good player and an interesting guy. And again, what an interesting family too, because his sister's a serious athlete too.
All right. For new people, every week John selects what we call the fearsome foursome. And this is the four most interesting game. Occasionally he throws in an extra point. And we keep score of who wins how many weeks each year. So, John, how'd we do last week?
Well, last week you got me again. I thought we were going to close the gap. These NFL games, they flip and flop. They're so close. Short again. You have won 4 weeks. I have won 1, and we have tied a week. This week we have a simple 4. Very simple to see. And actually, it does start in London. The Rams and Jaguars is interesting for a lot of reasons. It really is. You've got 2 number 1 draft pick quarterbacks. You've got a program, a franchise that looks like it's maybe turned a corner and got some traction in Jacksonville. And then you've got the Rams who, if healthy, look like a Super Bowl contender. That if healthy thing, of course, comes back into focus with what happened to Puka last week. Rams and Jaguars, The curveball is London. Once upon a time, there was maybe some folks that thought the Jaguars were going to be in London. That's obviously not the case. They're both there this week. Who travels better? Short flight Jacksonville or long distance? Although they stopped over in Baltimore, for people that might have seen, they had a little practice week at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. How about that? Jaguars, Rams.
So I'm going to tell you right up front. I think the Rams are the better team, so I'm going to go with the Rams. But I'm going to tell you something else that I was not made aware of until someone in the NFL told me about, and I think that this will be some interesting information. So the Jags left like Monday or Tuesday, and the Rams are showing up there late in the week. And I was told by an NFL person not connected to either team, they really think the outcome of this game is going to maybe give some teams who are learning, like Pete Carroll does so good going from the West Coast to the East, which is very rare. They think that this is going to tell a lot of people the story. I don't know what that story is yet because I haven't seen the outcome. So I'm going to literally give my prediction based upon if it was just a normal game. I'm going to go with the Rams.
This one reminds me a bit of when Jim Harbaugh was at the 49ers. He stopped over in Youngstown State, kept them there for a week, which I don't think went over too well with his ball club. This is a good time to talk about these games that kick off in London. They're not kicking off at the right time. This is the NFL. This is the most popular form of entertainment in this country. Kick them off at 11:30, for God's sake. Is it fair to the Rams to kick a game off at 6:30 a.m. their time? No. Are you kidding me? Absolutely not. This has got to stop. Either kick this game off at maybe 11:30 or noon. The people in London, the people in Germany, they're so darn excited, they're going to be able to stay up a little bit later. I don't like that stuff at all. They got to move the kickoff time. Now, this week, I like the Jaguars for one reason. Give me ETN with a very big day for the Jags. Next up,
right?
It's very obvious. I thought the Colts were fool's gold. I look more like a fool. The Chargers came out hot, as we all know. Maybe they've cooled a bit, but they've got the Colts this week with, let's just say, a tepid home field advantage. No disrespect to the Colt fans. There's just not that many of them. I'm sure they'll be in Los Angeles, but I don't think it's going to be like some of the other guys that go in to play at the Rams house or when the Chargers are at home. Indianapolis at Chargers this time. I like the Chargers.
Me too. I like the Chargers in this one, and I think it's going to be a bounce back game for them.
They did a lot of good looking things early in the season. It's a long season. The Chargers, obviously, everybody's out there watching. You know you like to watch the Chargers, even though you hate them out there, Raider fans. You're watching. You know what they're doing. Sunday night looks really good on paper. Everything went right for the Rams on Monday night. We looked foolish picking against them. The Bills, to me, in that game, after the second guy got hurt, I saw their faces changing. I saw concern like, oh my God, if we get enough guys injured, our season is over. So the Bills get trounced by the Falcons. The Falcons are probably too high in the sky. They go to San Francisco, and this is why this game is so interesting. You have the magician level work that Kyle Shanahan is doing with the overachieving 49ers. You've got a short week Falcons going west. This all seems to lead towards some Shanahan magic. So I like the 49ers in this one, but I also, without any question, everybody out there who had any doubt about Bijan Robinson, you must say, Hondo, you were totally right about this guy. Bijan Robinson looks unbelievable. He looks like he's going to be the best running back in the sport. And you see those tools. They are really some really big tools that the Falcons have. They've got real serious tools to deal with. Not this week. Robert Saleh is going to have something for Penix. The 49ers are going to shine. This is a program win, if you will. The depth and breadth of the 49ers shines through, but we could be really entertained on Sunday night.
Yeah, I think San Francisco wins this one, but I want to say something else. Thank you for mentioning about what I told everybody about Bijan when he came out. But really, that's the NFL people who were telling me. But those same people are the ones telling me that Ashton Genty is the best prospect to come out since Saquon. They think Ashton is significantly better than Bijan. So thank you for crediting me, but I'm going to give credit to the people that deserve it. And that's why I think there's got to be a big microscope on Chip Kelly and the usage of Ashton, because one of the guys who told me how much he loved Bijan with a proven track record of drafting said to me, and let me tell you, he does not like the idea of picking running backs in the first round. And when Saquon came out, he told me he is a Hall of Famer. I would pick him number 1 overall, period. Which I was like, wow. When Bijan came out, he said, would not pick him number 1 overall, but I would pick him in the first round. When Ashton came out, he said to me, I got him rated higher than Bijan. I wouldn't take him number 1 overall, but I would take him if I was the Raiders and he knew where the Raiders were sitting at 6. He goes, I'd take him there with no hesitation, no problem. So to me, yeah, I credit to the people who give me their wisdom, but that tells you a lot about Ashton Genty.
It does. And if you follow Robinson, or if you look at him, you could see the step from year 1 to year 2 and beyond. And now the guy's literally going to become a superstar this week, especially if he has a big game Sunday night. He's going to be a massive star. So we'll keep that in mind. Raiders fans should keep that in mind as they watch Genty, and also as the Raiders begin to obviously integrate him and then eventually feature him. They may have some benchmarks as far as some of the things they want to do or see or try with him. And if they follow the Robinson, template, it's going to really pay off, because that guy is outstanding. But the 49ers at home, they should have something to try to address it. There is another fantastic game, especially if you like quarterbacks and comeback stories. Of course, we're talking about Todd Bowles, Baker Mayfield, and the Bucs going to Detroit, which does not sound easy on paper. But when you see how hard Baker Mayfield fights and you see how much he pulls his guys with him, you think that maybe they got a chance, especially if they've got some health. I can't remember if Amuka Abugu is going to be playing for Tampa, but that is such a significant player for them, and yet another fantastic receiver out of Ohio State, that could make a huge difference. If you don't have to account for him and you're Detroit, your job becomes a whole lot easier on defense. This is a real tough task for Tampa going to Detroit.
I'm going to say this. I believe Tampa's the real deal, and I 100% believe in them. Okay? I want to make that very clear. They are getting Detroit at the absolute worst time. You saw the perception in Michigan when I'm talking to my friends at the Lions and friends and family in media and back in Michigan who are all Lions fans. The perception is the NFL stole one from us because of the Chiefs. You got Dan Campbell. I can't talk about that. Whatever. I just think they're getting the lion by the tail. If it was any other week, I'd probably feel I still would go with the Lions because I think they're better. But this is not a good week for Tampa Bay to get the Lions at all. And I think the Lions are going to come out and make a statement.
That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like on paper. This is one where we're going to want to watch the game early, especially. I'm glad to have enough screens to watch it, because it's like, all right, if you're Tampa, you just can't get run out of the gym early on. With that in mind, I think I reversed the course a little bit. I think this ends up close, and I think the Lions win by 4 points or less. I do think they win, but this one's got all the potential to be massively entertaining. People sleep on the Bucs. They're in a soft division, yes. At the same time, when you look at the Lions, like you said, I mean, literally, if they were playing the Super Bowl right now, they appear to be operating at a very high level, running very high octane gas. The engine is running really well. It should be a heck of an environment to see in Detroit. That is absolutely a featured game of the week. We are going to enjoy it, but we think we both have the Lions to carry the day.
So we only disagree on one game.
Only one. It's tough. We try to pick the 4 best, And as the season goes on, you naturally think there's going to be more agreement. That's fine. The main point of it is to pick the four best games. For somebody out there that's like, I don't even know what the schedule is this week. I don't even know what I should be looking at. I know the Raiders, maybe one other game. Maybe once a week, you listen to this and you hear a game or two that you didn't think of, and you're like, oh, maybe I do have to keep an eye, or I should keep an eye on that one. It keeps it fun. There's plenty of good games in the NFL. These are all really interesting. The only thing that bothers me, and the players need to speak up about this next time, the kickoffs in Europe are too early. They need to move them back to something like 11 or 12 o'clock to be respectful and fair to the guys coming from the West Coast.
All right, buddy. He is the great Jonathan Shop. John, tell him where to find you on Twitter.
At JP Spartan.
Check it out, everybody, and go to si.com/NFL/Raiders.